Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 10th session of IITK Alum Cafe Series. Myself, Lokesh Sharma, Joint Secretary of our chapter Bangalore. So, our today's topic will be how to create a successful brand. Okay, so before introducing our guest speaker, maybe you can answer a small question ki, why do we need to build a small brand itself at the first place? Maybe in the chat section you can put your answers. One thing I can think of is if a product is good, maybe worth $5, you can sell it for $20. But if you associate a good brand with it, maybe you can sell it for, if I'm not wrong, for $200. So I think that's the power of a brand. Okay, so you can put your answers into the chat section, what your thought process is. Till then, let me introduce our first guest speaker, Mr. Vijay Parthasarathy. Uh, he's a 1976 graduate from IIT Kanpur. After that, he did his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. After that, he has worked with global brands like Johnson and Johnson, P&G, Colgate, Eureka Forbes, and so on. And currently, he is an independent consultant and a motivational speaker. Also, I think recently he was recently featured among top 100 global inspirational leaders as well. So he is a man worth listening to. So welcome, Mr. Vijay. I hope our audience will enjoy today's session.
Right. Thank you so much. Can you hear me and see me clearly?
Yes, very clear.
Right. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, IIT Kanpur Alumni Association, and this amazing platform that you guys have created. And Lokesh, you've been doing a wonderful job. And I still remember the first set of programs was started by, I think, Anupma, and then I think Sunil was one of. You can't hear anything. Great. So I've been talking to myself. Can you hear me or no?
I can hear.
So I think Joydeep Sen said he can't hear me. So if anybody else can say yes or no, can somebody else hear me? Yes. Okay, Manmat. Thank you so much. I think probably Joydeep, maybe you need to see if your system is okay or not. Just can I carry on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. So I was just saying that one of the first sessions that was with another friend of mine, because obviously who's been a part of the great mentoring groups of IIT Kanpur, Sunil. And I guess this has come a long way from that time. And I'm not sure if Pradeep is on the line. And Pradeep also had a lot to do with this. And Pratmesh has taken on in a big way. Congratulations. And so let me begin. Uh, yeah, you can hear Sunil. Thanks a lot. Yeah, welcome, Sunil. So first and foremost, I think, there's a saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And all the people who are here right now on time, I think it's amazing that you could have done something else and you've chosen to be here. And I think congratulations to all of you here for having taken that step to be on time once you've committed to be here. Can we get a recording of this session? That I guess so.
Uh,
I guess.
yes, we are recording this session.
Yeah.
So it will be available on our YouTube channel.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Lokesh, for coming in. Right. So let me begin. Number one is that I don't know. I don't know how many of you are aware. There's this incredible research and statistics which say that only 1 in 10,000 startups actually succeed. Now, in success, we don't mean like getting by in the sense like a guy is doing some business, is getting revenue, has got profits, that's not success. Success is actually vibrating at a completely different frequency where life seems to be a complete dream and everything happens by itself, and that is success. Those are the kinds of people that we'll be talking about. These are the legends of the world. So and having been fortunate enough to having worked with legends who have conquered not just COVID today, which is taking people helter and skelter, but also things like World War I, World War II, the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, and everything else, and have been number one in their fields, be it the Colgate or be it the Johnson and Johnson, be it the Procter Gamble, be it the Tata Group. So I'm privileged to be actually sharing some amazing stuff today with you. And one of the things that I wanted to share was that in today's world, which is categorized by incredible amount of market drop, where the market pie is very less, and there's an amazing amount of incredible competition with huge amount of Me Too products. There is only one way how you can stand out and differentiate yourself and be able to challenge the world and stand on top of it, irrespective of the fact that even if you may have identical products. And that's the story of today. And that's what makes people different and make them shine, like what I say, shine like a diamond in the sky. And that's the theme of this whole thing. And I'll try and summarize as fast as possible. I know I have about 20 minutes. So let's begin. I have a small presentation which I will share with you right now. I hope I can share the screen. Yes. Great. So one sec. Right. So you just need to tell me if you're able to see the screen. If you can type in the chat box, yes, if you're able to see the screen. Shine like a diamond in the sky. Can you see the screen? Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. The screen is okay, great. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, everybody. All right. In today's world, there are two ways of doing business. The majority of the business people, 95% of the world, do business in one particular way. They create an entity with amazing features, incredible amount of benefits, and an awesome technology. A technology that can probably make the TV walk into the kitchen and get probably a pizza done. Amazing technology. And what happens? When you do all this, you actually create a product. Now, here's the thing. Whenever you create a product with features and benefits and technology, there is somebody else who can do it better than us. Yes or no? It could be 1 month, it could be 6 months, it could be 1 day. That's why you hear people once in a while saying that by the time I finished the product, the technology was already outdated. How many of you can resonate with that? Type yes if you do in the comment box. Now, when you do this, here's what happens. You transfer the power to the customer, because the customer then becomes the king. He will show you 10 other products with identical features or better features, and you will be always on a constant treadmill of trying to defend who you are. And finally, it will come down to this 5-letter ugly and destructive word, PRICE. How many of you can resonate with that? Price. This word alone brought down two of India's largest giants, Tata Telecom and Reliance Communication, to dust just because they fought on this word, in spite of the fact they had the world's best technology going at that time, CDMA. Right? How many of you remember this? Right? But the geniuses of the world, the guys who shine like the diamond in the sky and who actually vibrate at a completely different frequency, do something completely different. They do this. Let me show you something. So here I have two devices. This one has got a larger RAM than this. This has got a higher hard disk than this. This has got a larger screen size than this. This has got a 5-year warranty. This has got 1-year warranty. This sells at 16,000. This sells at 65,000. This is product smartphone, and this is iPhone. Let me share with you something else. Just give me a second. You should have taken this off earlier. I have two watches here. This watch shows the time correctly. This also does. There's only one time. This looks good. This also looks good. This sells at 3,500. This sells at 3.5 lakhs. This is product watch. This is Omega. Now, here's the thing. What is the horizon? What is the bridge that makes a product watch become an Omega with almost identical features, and a product smartphone become an iPhone with almost identical features? And that is the story of today. Now, that is how the geniuses have survived over the hundreds and hundreds of years. And here's breaking news. Tomorrow, when you walk out into the market after this COVID, there is only one way, the way the legends knew. And the legends knew to be branded and create something called WLF. How many of you can relate to what is WLF? Can you type in the comment box, what is WLF? Let me see, just any guesses. Something that a lot of people know. All right, WLF is wealth. Like one of the things that Lokesh said, you can get 100, 1,000, 10,000 times the value for the same identical product. You create a legacy. It's not about coming onto the planet and eating and living and going away. You create a legacy for people, for your family, for whatever it is, like the Phil Knight, like the Steve Jobs, or whoever it is. Now Elon Musk. So you create a legacy when you create something like this. And then the most importantly, you also create freedom. Freedom to actually do whatever you want while the business comes by itself. It does. If I ask you today, who were the last 5 CEOs of Nike or Coke, or even the greatest of organizations like Unilever, you will not be able to tell. But you will know who was the founder of Nike. You will know who was the founder of Apple, because that is the difference of legacy that they've created, right? And so, but if you do not do this, be sure that you will be stranded. The hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people who are marketing all kinds of identical products, they will be stranded. So it's all good to hear all about this Nike and everything else. But how do you create a brand? Brand is that bridge that converts the product into an amazing entity which will fetch you millions of times. But how do you create a brand? Any guesses? Let's have some guesses. How do you create a brand? Any guesses? Just a quick guess. How do you create a brand? Okay, we'll keep that for later. Okay, you create a brand using something called the power of the X factor. See, what I'm sharing with you today is actually the essence of what happens in the ultimate giants of the world who have understood this science and made it actually a phenomenal process, which 95% of the business owners today in the marketplace are just not getting it. And my whole mission is to be able to convey this, even including the IIT Kanpur brand. Recently, we had a discussion with the director, and we have fantastic product. We have the best of faculty, but the best of everything. But our brand is only slipping because there is a huge science of how you can create a brand irrespective of the product. And that's what I want to share. The X factor is the same factor that makes you and me walk into Starbucks and buy a lousy cup of coffee for 250 rupees when you can actually get a fantastic coffee outside for 70 or 80 or 90 rupees. Yes or no? What do you think? Because I don't know how many of you are aware, and probably if you're not, this may be a surprise. Starbucks makes coffee and sells coffee, but they're not in the business of coffee. How many of you are surprised? Type yes if you are. Starbucks is not in the business of coffee. So if Starbucks is not in the business of coffee, what business are they in? And this is what the geniuses ask. Today, you see people selling tiles and furniture and digital marketing services and HR services and IT services, etc. But the geniuses of the world who stand for legacies and everything else, they ask one important question. What business are we really in? What business are we really in? And this is the question that sets you apart when you want to become and shine like the diamond in the sky. Any guesses what it means? Right. Now, Starbucks. Starbucks is not in the business of coffee, so what business are they in? Starbucks is in the business of creating a platform for senior level executives to come and take decisions there. That is their X factor. That's why you can walk into Starbucks and not have coffee. They won't really mind, of course, unless you make it a habit. Royal Enfield, Bullet. Till 2001, they were getting completely screwed because they were selling what they thought is a bike. Royal Enfield doesn't sell bikes. How many of you are surprised? If Royal Enfield were to sell bikes, they would have got wiped out on price. Yes or no? The X factor of Royal Enfield is that of a spirit of adventure, a spirit of freedom, self-worth, self-expression, passion, power, independence, courage. And that is their X factor, which makes them shine like this. McDonald's. How many of you believe they make burgers? McDonald's is not in the business of burgers. There are millions of people who make better burgers than McDonald's. Because McDonald's X factor is when you sit inside McDonald's, you don't taste a burger. You taste something called being an Americano. You taste America, and that is their X factor. Now, our own great Rahul Dravid, my favorite batsman. What does he stand for? He stands for the wall, the phenomenal feature called indestructibility. If India was 33 for 9, probably he'll go there and India will still be at 333 for 9. What does this guy stand for? He stands for, what does he stand for? He stands for India. He stands for, when Rahul Dravid is playing, he's playing for India. When Sachin is playing, India is playing. You are playing. I am playing. Therefore, we will give him 100 chances to make his 100th 100 because he has created something amazing. The brand value of Rahul is only 40 million. 40 is not bad, but Sachin is a staggering 200 million because Sachin is that X factor. What is that X factor? Now, when you create this X factor and become a brand, a remarkable thing happens. Remember, if you create a product, you transfer the power to the customer. When you create a brand, you transfer the burden of defending your product to the customer. Amazing. It reverses. If you see an iPhone 10 user, forget about 1 and 2, which were revolutionary, and tell him I have got a Samsung which has got 100 features more, he'll say, go to hell. Because he will defend the product. So that is the power of creating a brand. And similarly, the same thing today. Rohit Sharma, who's a phenomenal batsman, and Virat Kohli has an X factor, which makes Virat a 237 million brand, where Rohit is only 23 million. In fact, Rohit is the captain of the best number one team of IPL. And Virat, for example, may be the absolute bottom of the last team, but his brand value will not go down even by rupee, and Rohit's will not go by even up by rupee, because that they are differentiated by this X factor. Now, I want you to take a couple of seconds and tell me in the comment box, what do you think is this X factor? What is this X factor that converts a product into a brand? Types. I just want to hear some of you say that. Anything that you think. One word that converts a product into a brand. What is this X factor? IITK, class, yes, brand pull. Brand is what we are creating, Chandrasekhar. Yes, but what is that X factor? What is this? What is that one word that can actually change Rohit into a Virat, and a Sachin, and a bike into a Royal Enfield, and a phone into a this thing, and emotional content, emotion. Wonderful, right? That word is, ladies and gentlemen, like you have said, emotion. The one word that transfers a product into a brand is emotion. And this is not easy. Number one, knowing that is not easy. Number two, to be able to do something to create this is even more difficult. Let me share with you something. Let me share with you one of the a company which is in the business of, they make products which are related to services, but look at the business and the emotion that they are in. Just give me a second. Let me put that in front of you. And let me know if you can see the screen, right? If you can see the screen, let me know. How many of you can actually see? Might be the key skill of making a tool. Alka, can you tell? Yeah, you can see the screen? Awesome. Okay, now here it is. Just watch this.
हेलो हेलो मैम मैं सैमसंग से अमित बात कर रहा हूँ। जी अमित, आपने टीवी की कंप्लेन करवाई है? हाँ हाँ, क्या आप 7 बजे के पहले आ सकते हैं? जी जी बिल्कुल। आसमान तेरे संग उड़ चला, कल कल करती नदियों सा तू बह चला, चला मुश्किलें बाहों में तू चल चला, जहाँ आँखें खिड़कियों से पल पल झांकी एक रोशनी संग थोड़ा फंस गया हूँ बस। आई नो। लगता है चन्नू की भेड़ों ने फिर ट्रैफिक जाम कर दिया है। जल्दी आइएगा। अमित, आइए आइए, टीवी अंदर है। टाइम पे ठीक तो हो जाएगा ना? जी मैम। हो गया? बस मैम। अब ठीक है। जल्दी आराम से। अमित जी रिमोट। जी।
Welcome back to Junior Indian Icon और आज की
हमारे हॉस्टल की है और पता है मेरी बेस्ट फ्रेंड भी।
रिश्ते निभाने के लिए कभी-कभी थोड़ा दूर जाना पड़ता है।
Right. So what do you think? Were they selling any product or were they selling something else? What business are they in? Which sets them apart? This is the largest watched commercial almost in the history of Indian cinema in the last 5 to 7 years. Right? Now let me share with you something else again. Once again, here is another company which has stood for the test of time for over 100 years, part of the Procter Gamble group. And this is why. See what the product is and see what they are selling. Just give me a second. Tell me if you can see this screen. Just tell me if you can see the screen. If you can type yes, if you can see the screen. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. And here goes.
Good morning, sir. Ready to get up? Let me get your feet up. How you doing today? Okay. Good morning. I remember always looking at my dad's arms like when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. He had arms like Popeye, who was a tugboat captain, and I so admired his physique. Now it's a different story, you know, and that's just the way it is. So my dad had a stroke, and now he can't get around, he can't walk, and he needs me to help him out. My son Luke and I have been doing it, and I'd do anything for him. I can give you a really good mohawk. You look like a punk rocker. There's a definite role reversal that happens. I have to wake him up in the morning and take care of him and groom him and shave him and shower him. It's actually an honor to do that for your father because he did it for me when I was a kid. My dad's got the greatest face. His squishy face is just amazing. He's sort of thin skinned and I don't want to cut it at all. So I got to be careful with that face. But he'll just say, do this, do that. You got to make sure that you shave my neck down. You got to do my lips up. He was really particular about his sideburns. That's where your sideburns start. I'm not going to touch your sideburns. Okay, good. Okay. How am I doing so far, Dad? Okay. You know, it takes me like a half an hour to shave my father because I have to be so careful. Okay, well, I will. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Love that face. I'm one of the lucky ones. A lot of my friends my age did not have good dads, and I still have my dad. He always says to me, he looks up at me after I pour love on him for the whole day, and he says, "I don't know what I did to deserve you." And I say, "Dad, I got you. I got you, Dad."
Right. Were they selling razors? Were they selling something else? What business are they in? Now, let me tell you something called the law of reversibility. And this is the key. There is something called the prefrontal cortex in our brain, which is responsible for our emotions. And if you're able, I mean, there is a huge science, and I recommend, by the way, for people who are interested in this, read a book called The Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. I will message it to you. If you are able to create something, this is not easy. That's why brand creation is not about creating a logo. It's not about creating a name or a color. Unfortunately, that's what it has been. Some of the people relegated to. If you are able to do something in your product, in your communication, which touches the prefrontal cortex, secretions start flowing in your brain. Literally, secretions start flowing. Dopamine, which is the feel-good chemical, flows. And you will say this particular brand is the best, irrespective, whenever the need for the category arises, this will come up. And the law of reversibility is as such. Remember in this Gillette ad, they showed the emotion of love and care and very, very subtly put the razor there. So the law of reversibility is like this. Today, they have created a feeling in you and me. Tomorrow, and for some other reason, you feel the same emotion somewhere else for something else. One cell in your brain will bring this back, this product, into your forefront. That is the power of brand creation. And that is the science. Let me tell you something. Give you an example of this. Okay, let me just take you through another set of stuff, and then I'll come back to that. So that is Gillette, the best you can get. So here is a summary line. Products don't sell. Whatever product you create. That is why majority of the people need to get this right. Products don't sell. Somebody, like even yesterday I saw a Titan ad which said it's got this kind of a thing, it's got 7 millimeters, it does this. Nobody cares. There is a famous saying, nobody cares what you know till they know how much you care. So this is the point. Emotions sell, nothing else. So brand creation is this. This is the science. This is biochemistry at its highest. It's an emotional groove that's created in the brain of the customer, literally. When the need for that category is felt, the positive feeling neurons actually fire up and make secretions happen in your brain, making the customer choose only your product, irrespective of any rational decision that the mind may bring. Awesome? If you learn something completely new and different, type AWS awesome in the comment box. Would love to hear that. All right. Now, this is what it is. If your product or service is not emotionally embedded in the brain of the customer, this is the future of tomorrow. You stand to disappear overnight, irrespective of how long you have been in business. It doesn't matter. See, people put up 1821, 1840, and nothing matters, or how fantastic your technology is. If someone comes and tells you my IP is my technology, you will not see him for too long. This is the reality of tomorrow, right? Now, the key is, secret number one, convert your product business, whatever business you are, into an emotional business, ASAP, if you want to survive in the markets of tomorrow in the next 5-10 years. Now, the key to all this is very, very critical, which I want you to hear very, very carefully. Number one, to identify the fact that we have to create an emotion is one thing. Number two is, how do I know what emotion to create? If I'm in the business of tiles, or if I'm in the business of furniture, or if I'm in the business of cars or televisions, or say internet marketing services, what emotion do I create? Let me share with you some example. In the business of juices, where it is driven by international giants like Tropicana and Maaza and Real and Slice, people said you just can't penetrate that market. And here comes a guy and takes it to the skies. Any guesses? I'm sure you can. What guesses? What brand that was? Paperboard. Paperboard did not talk about any feature called fiber. Paperboard did not talk of any benefit called taste. And obviously, the last thing that Paperboard talked about was price. All Paperboard said was, when I was young, I took this paper, I folded it into a boat, I walked to the riverside, I put it in the water and watched it float. Emotion, nostalgia. Paperboard recognized that one of the most powerful emotions that the human brain has is nostalgia. And the most important thing is to be able to identify that there is an audience enough for this nostalgia. And once you convert and stitch these two together, you have a great, great winner. So actually in my program that we have identified over the last 20 to 30 years, that 90%, 95% of businesses have 6 emotions that are there. And using these 6 emotions, you can actually create the exact emotion for that exact particular product. That's for another time. So let's move on. So that's the legend of legends, Nike, Phil Knight. I recommend that all of you read a book called Shoe Dog. If some of you have read it, it's great. SHOE, Shoe, DOG, Dog. Shoe Dog is the new Bible of business or marketing or brand creation or life itself. Shoe Dog is actually written by an 82-year-old guy who traces his journey from the age of 23, year by year, when he conceived, founded, and created this incredible legend called Nike. Right. So please buy that book. I'm not a sales agent for Shoe Dog, by the way. So you please buy this book. It will be amazing for you. Let me share with you one last thing in terms of when you go out in the marketplace, how you create a brand. Today, when you go out in the market pie is very less, like I said, and the people are actually running out, trying to acquire new customers. They'll always be chasing what is called an inverted funnel. They will take a lot of effort and put it through the stem and they'll all flitter away. But the geniuses understand, if you want to create something amazing, you need to go beyond acquisition. A for acquisition, R for retention, and T for transference. One customer telling another customer, and in terms of the net promoter score, NPS. And here it is. The rule is, when you go out in the marketplace, spend 80% of the next 6 months to 1 year on focusing on the 20% of the customers who bring 80% of the business. 80-20-80 rule, not anymore an 80-20 rule. It's an 80-20-80 rule, which you follow. Revenue will start following you. If you chase revenue, it will always be in front of you. That's why I tell people never chase a dream, because it'll always be in front of you. Live the dream. If you want revenue to follow you, you need to chase something else. And that is the combination of revenue and stickiness. And that's what sets the diamond apart. So, yeah, so this is another area that I do in another so that brings to the end of brand creation. So this is what it's all about. Brand creation, like someone asked, I'm preempting some of the questions, is never expensive. It costs zero money. Brand creation is defining to yourself what is the emotional persona that you are. You need to be very, very clear. And that requires zero money. That is the strategy. And once you have this, the next is the ability to convert into creative expression. Then that is where the logo and the color, etc. come. And the last part is telling the world who you are. People are today concentrating only on this, the LinkedIn and the Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram. This is telling the world who you are. And you constantly spend money on that. Yes, you will get leads, you will get sales. That's a treadmill. But if you don't know who you are, and you will only keep telling people different things and getting different customers. So the brand creation is all about creating that emotional persona that you define yourself you are, and you believe in it, and you transfer it to the audience so that you can shine like the Nike and the Apple, like the diamond in the sky. Thank you so much. And I hope I haven't taken too much time. I'm done. Somebody is saying, Chandrasekhar, many government purchases, I do not think they give importance to Chandrasekhar, this is the common fallacy. Let me spend 1 minute on this before. Many people believe that brand creation is only in a B2C. Right? In my opinion, there is no such thing as anything else except B2C. There is no such thing like B2B. Infosys never buys from Accenture. There is no such thing like that. Infosys, there is a particular power position in which there is an individual who actually buys or sells to an individual on Accenture. There is always a business which sells to a customer. There's always a customer at the end who resonates to an emotion, whether it is the government and whether it is. So I have a separate program on B2B, etc. So please, we'll talk about that. But I just wanted to clear that. Yes, I'm done. Thank you so much for listening to me. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And yeah. Yes, I think I overshot there about 5 minutes, I guess, right? Abhiram, absolutely. Absolutely. The brand of a person, yes. You need to, in today's world, you hit the nail on the head. There are many people who are smart, who are intelligent, who are hardworking, who have got damn good degrees. How do you differentiate? How do you differentiate when you sit in an interview for a job? How do you differentiate when you make a presentation to a VC? Right? And that is what is the personal brand. And there are ways of creating this personal brand. And I work with certain people who are actually in the process of creating personal brands. If I had another hour of session, I'll share with you all those things. But yes, you're absolutely right. In this world, you need to be standing out. Right. Let me see if I can answer each of these questions. Suraj, thank you. Thanks so much, Anshika. How does customer centricity fit with emotions? If I understand correct what you're trying to say, the customer centricity is being able to understand and empathize with the customer. You will empathize only when you relate to the emotion which is making him make a decision. And that is what emotion is all about. Can the CEO, promoter of a company be the brand of that company? It depends. There are people like Vijay Mallya on one hand and Nirav Modi on the other hand, or the negatives. And you have the other people like Elon Musk, etc., and Steve Jobs, who will be in the brands. There are advantages and disadvantages of all. One sec, Lokesh is on the line. One sec. I hope he's not going to fire me for overshooting. Yeah, so yes, he can be the brand, but definitely it has got its advantages and disadvantages. And the advantages are that he is able, as long as he is able to, get the vision of himself into the people who buy and into the people who do everything in the company, then you have made it. Like Simon Sinek says in his reason for why people do what they do. In that he talks about how a CEO, when he has a vision, if he recruits people who believe in that vision, then obviously you have a winner. Otherwise, they will be working for money. If you sell them into buying your vision, then they will be working for their heart. So yes, of course, definitely. So Lokesh had called me on something, so I don't know. I'm not able to get back to him in case. So I'm done. If we can take questions, or otherwise, so in case I missed something. Lokesh, I think probably I need to unmute you or something. Is that what it is?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Vijay. Okay. So, can I invite our next guest speaker, Ms. Priyanka Sharma? Maybe Vijay, you have to transfer host rights to her, or she has to be online.
Yeah. Okay. 1 second.
Okay. So while you're doing that, just let me give a brief introduction about Ms. Priyanka. So she is a graduate from IIT BHU. She is a silver medalist from there, and she did her PhD in marketing from IIT Kanpur. After that, currently she's an assistant professor in IIM Lucknow, and maybe her credentials sound a little more academic, but her students call her Chota Packet Dhamal as well, because she can crack some good jokes while teaching you some serious academic and some practical stuff as well. So let us welcome Priyanka.
I have made her the host, so I think let me see, Priyanka, if you.
Okay, yeah, now I can unmute myself.
Awesome.
Thanks, Lokesh. That was a very different kind of an introduction, but yeah, nevertheless, thanks, Vijay, for such a nice discussion on branding and what it takes to create a good brand. So, Lokesh, can you help me with the presentation? So I got to know some of the questions which will share to me as part of the registration process, which you people had put up. So I thought of putting some of those questions into this discussion and try to address some of those queries. Although a lot of those questions are the topic in itself, and we can debate, we can talk about those questions at length with the time to come. So Lokesh, can you go to the next slide, please? So as Vijay has already talked a great deal about what it is a brand, so I'm not going to focus too much on it. So the flow of the presentation would be something like help us to differentiate what product is and what brand is. And then I will take you through a small process of how to create a brand. So what we call as a strategic brand management process. Then I would also take up some of the questions about, so there was a question like whether it is a continuous process. There was also a question regarding, what all things can be branded and so on and so forth. So when we look at brand, moving on to the next slide, Lokesh, when we look at a particular brand, branding is not something new. Many of you who belong to, say, rural areas or who might have noticed that people usually put a mark on their sheep or cattle just to differentiate themselves as to who is the owner of that particular animal. That is the root for this particular word, which is called as brand, to differentiate the owners of the livestock. Usually people say, or if you look at the academic definition given by American Marketing Association, they say that brand is, it can be a name, it can be a term, it could be some symbol, logo, design, or one and many of these aspects put together that help different companies and also the consumers to differentiate between different offerings. But brand is a little bit more. So to understand brand, we first need to understand what a product is. A product is something that comes at 5 different levels, if I have to put it. There is a core product, which is something fundamental that consumers want, that satisfies some of their immediate needs. The next level of the product is something called as a generic product or a basic product, which is a very basic version containing those attributes which are absolutely necessary for functioning of that particular product. So to give an example, so if we look at, say, air conditioning. So the very core product or the core benefit would be of cooling and comfort. That's what we are looking at when we look at air conditioner as the most core requirement. When we go to the next level, we define what the generic product is. Then we put those attributes like there should be some sufficient cooling capacity, some technical concepts may come into what is the energy efficiency rating, air intakes, exhaust, and so on and so forth. When we go to the next level, this is something what we expect in terms of the product. And there are reports which say that for a very large air conditioner, consumers expect at least, say, 2 different cooling speeds. There should be expandable plastic side panels, removable air filter, which they can also clean if possible. There should be a vent for exhausting air. there should be some environmentally friendly refrigerant, and so on and so forth. Now, these things, they form the next level of the product as expected by consumers, right? As that has been reported in the consumer surveys or reports. The fourth level is augmented product. Now, augmented product is something which includes additional features that differentiate it from those of competitors. So in case of air conditioner, it could be, say, electric touchpad controls, remote controls. So there could be a display to show indoor-outdoor temperature differences, thermostat setting, some auto mode to adjust the fan speed. And the last level of the product is called as the potential product, which is something, it is about all the augmentations and transformations that a product can ultimately undergo in future. So you are trying to make the company or the product look futuristic, right? So if I look at air conditioning, it could be like silent running, completely balanced throughout the room, and completely energy self-sufficient, and some of these things. Now, what Harvard's Ted Lewitt, he said that the new competition is not between what companies produce in their factories, but it is between what they add to these factory outputs in terms of packaging, services, advertising, customer advice, financing, delivery, warehousing, and any of these things can create a brand. So brand is therefore more than just a product, because it can have those dimensions that can differentiate it in some way from other products designed to satisfy the same type of need. Okay. So some brands, they create competitive advantage by product performance. For example, we know Gillette, we know Merck. These have been leaders in the product categories for decades because of innovation. Steady investments in research and development, cutting-edge products, sophisticated mass marketing practices, they have kind of ensured their rapid adoption of new technologies in the consumer market. Now, there are other types of brands that create this competitive advantage through non-product means. For example, Coca-Cola, right? Say L'Oreal, right? So these are a different type of product categories where it's more about desire, it's about some sort of image, it's more about some emotional thing like fun, aspiration, belongingness, some intangible associations that make these brands look different. So moving on to the next slide. Why do brands matter? So even before we start creating the brand, we really need to know that do we really need to have a brand or not? We need to know we need to have a brand. It is as good, or it is as important for the firms or the sellers as it is for the consumers, right? So for consumers, for people like us who are buying all different products every day, it helps in identification of where the product is coming from. It actually gives the responsibility to the product maker. It helps to reduce my risk of purchasing a particular product or risk of using a particular product. And risk can be defined in many different ways. It could be functional, emotional, social, psychological, time, anything. Search cost, it helps in reducing that, because if I know that there is Peter England, there is Manhusen, there is say some other brand, and then I have to go and buy say tie. If I know the brand, it helps me to frame my consideration set very quickly. Signal of quality, a very important thing for consumer satisfaction. What it can do for you as a seller, it helps you to maintain the inventory, auditing, legal protection, price premium, signal of quality. it can have unique associations endowed into their products. It's a source of competitive advantage and therefore financial returns. Therefore, brands do matter. Now, going to the next slide, Lokesh. So there was this question in the group of questions that we got: can anything be branded? So, yes, anything can be branded. So you must try to understand that a brand is something that resides in the minds of your consumers. And it's about perception, which is definitely about something which is real, which is tangible, but it may also include the perceptions and what consumers think of the different associations or the different elements which are associated with that particular brand or a product. So a brand, or to brand a product or a service. So I'll also use this word service because I see some of the chat windows, they talk about messages, they talk about replacing a service with a product. It is important and necessary to teach customers who the product is. So by giving it some name and using some brand elements to help identify that, as well as what the product does and why consumers should care about it. So there are three important things when you are looking at branding: who the product is, what the product does, and why should people care about that. So branding actually helps in creating what we call as mental structures to help consumers organize their knowledge about the product and service, so to help in their decision-making process, right? So unless and until I'm saying your consumers perceive differences among brands in a product category, your brand building may not be that effective. The differences between brands have to be related to certain attributes or benefits of the product or service, or it can be related to some intangible image considerations. But branding helps when people can understand and appreciate the differences between different brands. And that is what, so my PhD thesis was related on brand sensitivity. So hold on, Lokesh here. Yeah, you can keep it at this slide. To brand sensitivity. Brand sensitivity is not a common scenario. It differs based on what we are buying, from whom we are buying, what is the urgency of buying that particular product, and a few other things. So unless and until people can differentiate between different brands, it's not going to help you even if you create a brand, right? Brand is a promise. Yes, brand is definitely a promise. Promise that you are going to give certain quality products, promise that you are going to give some value to the customers in form of a bundle of some, tangible and intangible features, which customers can relate and appreciate. But it is not easy because we have tech-savvy customers, we have a lot of information which is available, economic downturns. Very interestingly, there is a study which says that during economic downturns, people become little wary of investing in actually promotions and advertising. But actually, those companies who continue to invest sincerely in a mindful manner, they actually earn more, or they get a better payoff once that recession cycle goes off. Okay? Firms which are willing to capitalize on marketing opportunity, even during the recession, they on an average, they perform better over a period of time. So the two pictures which you see over here, friends and peers, 81%, 68%. This is taken from a survey where the teenage girls in the age say 13 to 18. This is the percentage of the kind of influencers or the source of information they typically use when they are trying to learn about the latest trends. So there are so many different touch points for consumers. There are different ways in which these touch points influence, and you have to take into account how these touch points take you as a brand and what they are going to tell about you, because each of these will have a different implication on some end consumer who would be looking for buying a product like that of yours. Another beautiful example is that of Converse. Converse, as the name says, converse. They are always in conversation with their customers. They are very, very focused digitally and on social media branding. It's full of consumer-centric, consumer-generated content. And on Facebook, if you see, it has almost 10 million fans as consumers, and people, they take pictures of their shoes, they draw on them, post about them, and this particular company takes those ideas and try to replicate it in the form of shoes or a new set of products. So their idea is let the conversation go. Let people be creative and let the company imbibe those creative peoples and ideas, which is actually pushing the brand ahead. So this is what is something called as customer co-creation. So you are co-creating the brand by involving the customers so that they feel empowered, they feel more connected, and they feel very much an ambassador to that particular brand. Okay, so can we move ahead? Yeah. One more question there was that, is branding a process? Yes, branding is a very much a continuous process. So if you see how Microsoft logo has changed over a period of time, and now the current Microsoft logo, it shows a window, because that's what they are different. They have different flavors of windows. So it's like connecting you to the outside world through these windows, and a very clear written depiction of Microsoft, which shows the clarity, the conciseness, preciseness with which organization Microsoft works. Cadbury. So this is something we all know, that Cadbury ran into a controversy. There was a big brand crisis where worms were found in Cadbury's chocolate, and that happened just before the time of Diwali, and also it was a big loss to the company. But Cadbury managed the crisis with what is called as integrating marketing communication, and they were quite successful. They bounced back. They used different techniques. For example, that kind of messaging that they put across, that infestation is a storage problem. It was safe to eat Cadbury's chocolates. Consumers must exercise the same care in purchasing a chocolate as they would have when buying any food item. They launched the Project Vishwas, Project Trust campaign to basically reinstill that faith that people had, we all had in Cadbury. So the whole idea was to win back the confidence of people, of consumers. This is how you tackle a brand in terms of crisis. This is much more difficult when the brand is well developed. Much more easier when the brand is less developed, because the repercussions of brand crisis of a well-developed brand are much more than when a non-branded or a fairly growing brand as such. So, now retailers, consumers, they were nationally reached through, there were press advertisements, and facts about Cadbury's were circulated, and different publications, different languages, because India is a multicultural, multilingual country. And Amitabh Bachchan, he talked about it. He was the brand ambassador of Cadbury. He restored the credibility that the company had demonstrated throughout its packaging. So yes, very much that branding is very much a continuous process. You need to keep a check on each and every aspect of, so every, just like a product, a brand also goes through a life cycle, right? So a brand will be at the inception, it will be growing, it will become mature, and then it will see the decline phase. And when it is at the maturity, you need to identify whether you want to rebrand it, whether you want to reposition it, or you want to expand it into different, say, product categories to stay alive, to still stay into the game. Santur. Now, Santur has picked up really well. So another example of continuous, I would say, evolution, continuous generation of brand elements. So how do we create a brand? Okay, before that, Lokesh, do we have time? Because I was told that it is only till 6:30. Okay. Lokesh, are you there? Okay, then I'll put it to the forum that do we have time or we do not, because then yeah, so what you can do is okay, we can continue. Okay, fine. So okay, great. So Lokesh, then can you go to the next slide, please, which takes you to the process? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. How do we do that? So there is a strategic brand management process which actually involves the design and implementation of the marketing programs and activities. So the idea is to build, measure, and manage brand equity. So that's the central theme of this brand management process. And as you can see here, there are 4 different stages or 4 different phases to this particular process. The first one is identifying, developing the brands. So when I say brand plans, go to the next slide, Lokesh. Yeah, this is about how to guide the integrated marketing into maximizing the competitive advantages. So you try to understand basically where the brand stands as of today. Okay. What are the competitive frames of reference? So who are you competing against? So if you are Dettol, are you competing against Avalon? Or you are Dettol soap competing against all the other, you know, soaps, like it could be Lux, it could be Palmolive, it could be anything else. So what is the category? So you define what are the competitive frames of reference, and then the mental maps, what people think you are, right? So that is what about current brand positioning and value that a brand holds, right? Now, whether branding makes more sense when the market is competitive, like FMCG and similar. Ashu, yes. See, I tell you, so long as the customers can identify the differences between different brands, branding works. So higher competition, branding always helps because it helps you to set yourself apart from rest of the competition. So definitely branding is an important element of competitive markets. Second one is designing and implementing brand marketing program. So first one is you understand where you are currently are, what people think about you, and who are the people, who are the companies, products and services against whom you are competing. And you understand their strengths and their weaknesses. You cannot play on their strengths. You need to play up on your strengths and their weaknesses. That's an important point, right? Yes, each brand needs some unique selling proposition. The second aspect is designing and implementing those brand marketing programs. So what we mean by that is you mix and match the branding elements, and you try to put all the different brand marketing activities that can be utilized for your particular product and service. So I do a lot of B2B marketing. So for my experience in case of B2B, LinkedIn, Instagram, email marketing, these are some things which these kind of campaigns make much more difference than compared to those on say Facebook and Twitter, right? So you need to identify what type of campaigns would be much more meaningful for your type of product and service, and also any secondary associations that you can leverage. When I mean secondary association, it could be like something coming from Kerala can leverage the association of being coming from God's own country, right? So or secondary association in terms of brand endorsers. So who would be the endorsers? Micro influencers. Micro influencers are supposed to be much more influential in terms of the control that they have on their fans and followers these days, right? The third part is you need to measure and interpret your brand performance. So next slide, please, Lokesh. Absolutely. This is the meat. This is brand equity, and you want to be at the top in the brand equity ladder. So there is one company by the name Interbrands. I can type it here. Interbrands is a global consulting firm, and they give away the list or ranking of best brands globally in Asia, India, so country level, global, and different region level. They have a metric for brand valuation. It includes both financial market levers and non-financial or soft or awareness related levers to arrive at a brand equity or valuation metric. They use that metric to rank different brands in the market, right? So it's important that you understand where you are. It is important that based on who your audience is that you want to attract, what type of marketing campaigns that you create, and you also measure that. Then only you can know whether you are able to meet your goals or not, right? And the last step is to grow and sustain brand equity. So you need to understand how do you maintain that over a period of time. So there could be some recession, there could be some sort of brand crisis, but you need to be steadfast and understand how it happens over a period of time. So this is a 4 phase. Now, I may have sounded that it may have sounded very simple, but each of these actually is a different discussion point, and there are tools, there are techniques which help you to do each of these phases in the brand management process. Now, very quickly, for any new product, if we have. So going to the next slide, Lokesh. Perfect. For any new product, there are 2 options basically. You can develop a totally new brand, which is individual of chosen for the new product, or you can apply one of the existing brands, or you can apply existing name with a new name. So this is called as sub-branding. So put together point number 2 and 3, they come in what we call as brand extensions. So Lokesh, if you go to the next slide. Okay, so that's what we call as extension, where the existing brand name is getting extended to the next level for the new product. So there are advantages of extensions. There are disadvantages of extensions. When we look at advantages of extension, it may help you to facilitate new product acceptance in a much more easier fashion, because you already have the equity which you get from the parent brand, like Tata Salt, because Tata is for trust. So it can easily escalate, or it can easily be used for a product like salt, right? So this is or you can have and other thing is, it provides feedback to the parent brand to understand which type of brands are doing well. It can actually enhance the meaning of the parent brand, and it can revitalize the brand. It can also help you to see what type of further extensions are possible. And it also helps to reduce the risk which is perceived by customers, because it is coming from a proven or a time-tested brand. Now here, let me take a little bit, talk a little bit about this Lancome Paris, and then I'll come to Navratna oil. Now the question may be that, for example, Lancome, it's a totally different brand altogether. But if you see, L'Oreal is the parent company which actually owns this particular brand. And it is one of the most successful global brands which is owned by L'Oreal. But the problem here is that this particular company, or Lancome, it is in the ultra premium segment. Okay. Or we can say it's part of the luxury products. So Biotherm and Lancome, these are two in the luxury products. Maybelline, Garnier, these are the regular consumer product brands. Therefore, to have that exclusivity, L'Oreal chose not to add those names or the parent body name to this, because it is a premium brand. It's different. It's much high priced. It has elite connotation to it. So if you do not want to carry forward the same type of meaning that the parent brand has, then in that case it makes much more sense to come up with a totally new brand, because otherwise it will be what we call as dissonance in the minds of the consumers as to what is this company about, or what is this new product about. Right? So in this particular case, they have strict channel exclusivity strategies for this particular product. Now we come to what we call as, what we all know about, Navratna oil. So in this particular category, it actually originated from the Eastern India, and almost 25-30 years back. And there were no organized players at that particular time. So therefore, this category also remained neglected for years, till Imami actually found this opportunity. So 1991, they launched this brand by the name Navratna. It's about 9 Ayurvedic herbs which are put together for cooling effect, cooling oil, and hair growth. And so it was positioned as a value-added product which provides relief from multiple problems like tension, headache, sleeplessness, fatigue, etc. So this was the unique value that Navratna oil came up with. Not just any oil, but more of a herbal oil which helps you to get relief with some of these problems. They invested heavily in marketing, consumers understanding, and expanding the distribution to create a presence for themselves. So use of celebrities, below the line communication, thanda thanda, cool cool, to clearly differentiates that it is about the cooling space. So basically, it created a place for itself among the clutter of different oils which is there. Like parachute oil is also there. We have Shanti Amla Tel, we have Vatika Amla Tel, and there are several oils which usually cater to this kind of segment, but in the cooling space, it actually created its own niche. It created the brand for itself. They also launched it in small sachets to offer convenience and generate trials, and also to be pushed into the rural segment as well. Regional celebrities, and then this particular cooling effect, cooling space niche that they created, they extended that to Navratna Cool Tag. Now, because it was already a proven name in the oil category, so it was easy for them to get into the talcum powder, because that is also used as antiperspirant, or in summer season. So it's like if you use it for again the same effect, cooling effect, right? Today, it is almost 700 crore brand. It is undisputed leader in this particular market. The opportunity that Imami saw and the space that it created. It is a very, it looks simple today, but it had a lot of thought behind it, that the way this company has grown. And I would recommend that you actually go back and check some of these case studies. So that was all I wanted to discuss, and thanks to all the brands that you and I are here today and talking and debating and discussing about some of these things. So in today's highly price sensitive market, medical device segments, branding will help. Oh yes, so in my in one of my papers, so on B2B brand equity, I actually interviewed medical devices segment for this X-rays, MRI machines, and we have GE as one of the most powerful brand in that particular category. And yes, branding helps. Branding helps a lot. The reason being, I tell you, today's customers, which are patients like us, they are much more knowledgeable, and they even look at not just the profile of doctor, but they also look at the facility in which the machines, the type of machine, the make of machines, how advanced the facility or the hospital is. That also makes an important thing. Therefore, in setup, in setups like hotels, in setups like hospitals, where the customers are knowledgeable and what type of facilities do these sellers have becomes important, and therefore they go by brand so that they can have that kind of an impact on the consumer side. Yeah. So any more questions? And I mean, we can have a separate session definitely if there is a need to touch page any specific part of branding, revitalization or creation or something. But this was just a preliminary talk, so I thought I'll just touch upon some of the questions which are put up in the list during registration. So any questions do we have? Oh, I need to unmute you. Okay, how do I do that?
Hello.
Yeah, Lokesh.
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. Is there any questions maybe we can take before we close our session? Anyone? I think not.
Yeah, anyways, it's already 6:50.
Okay, there is one question
I got one from Nirmal. Does branding only create purchase preference, or does it also create price preference? Yes, it also creates price preference. So, what do you are you talking about? Low price products versus say luxury or premium products, that type of categorization, Nirmal, if you can clarify? No, that are different brand segments. Yes, they are different brand segments. See, many times people are brand conscious. So when we are segmenting people by brands, there are people who are very brand conscious. They don't really care about price that way. But if people are brand takers, price takers, then these are the people who will wait for some offer on a brand. Though they might also be influenced by the brand, but they would be waiting for Diwali, Holi, Eid, some time where there could be some offer on those brands, so that they can also have the luxury of purchasing those brands. In the same segment price difference. So in the same segment price difference can come when you have some unique proposition. So if all the soaps are almond soaps, then there is no point in changing the price, and they would be pretty much priced at the same price. But the moment a particular soap is almond along with aloe vera, then the price may change. Then you can command a better price. So unique selling points, absolutely, unique selling points are a must. They are a must. How about using IIT Kanpur as a brand by startups or new companies from IIT Kanpur? They should use it. I thought they are already doing that. If they are not doing it, I think that's the first thing they need to do. That's what I tell my students here also in the incubation center, that when you reach out to investors, when you are reaching out for funding or creating brand, I think that association, these are the secondary associations. So the four-phased stage, process which I showed, the second stage which talks about brand associations, you need to leverage all such brand associations. It could be because of institute, it could be because of the place that you come from, so some emotional connect. It could be because you got to hire some big brand endorser, anybody. Now, why should a startup factor in branding cost at TRL1? Why should a startup factor in? I'm not clear on this question. Sir, can you elaborate on this? Why should a startup factor in branding cost? I need to unmute him. Okay, so I need to find him. So, Lokesh, I have made you a host, so I think you can try that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Please speak.
Speak.
Yes, sir.
Priyanka ji, my question is basically because you are already in technology readiness level, and so my question is basically whether a startup should factor in cost, because branding is a cost, right at the stage of TRL1 itself. Should it be done so that the startup is ready to take maximum advantages of branding efforts?
So TRL1 is a very preliminary stage. Unless and until the product is at TRL number 3, whereas kind of a prototype which is lab tested. Because one thing is for sure, sir, unless and until you have a good sound product, which is a functional proposition, branding let alone cannot make a deal. So the product, or there has to be some maturity in terms of the functional viability of that basic product. So is that clear, sir? We can use IIT as a brand only if the product's core benefit is seen to be enhanced by use of IIT, or if it is indicated of promises being kept. Absolutely. So the onion diagram which I showed, which is like the core benefit and the basic product and the the augmented product, till that level, it is important that you work first on those features, the functionality aspect of that particular product. Once that is assured of, then definitely you can leverage all the other associations, brand associations, to make it a good proposition. Sharma sir, are you there? I'm not sure if it was answered.
Yes, I'm here, Priyanka ji. Yes, I got the point.
Oh, okay, okay, well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, a startup should start thinking at the level of TRL 3. Otherwise, the very essence of branding will not basically pick up. So, so I think that we are already in medical devices at TRL 3 and 4. A few are there, and they need some branding.
Then so, it is the right place to begin. Yeah.
Yes.
Then if you say that you have associations of IIT Kanpur and so IIT Kanpur is an organization. If you have associations of some good people as well, maybe in the board or management. Yes. So people branding, the kind of people who are there in the management or board of that particular company also is a brand or a part of brand.
Now, recent case that we all know that we created a low-cost ventilator from SIIC, IIT Kanpur, and but then somehow it has not picked up as far as branding is concerned.
See, so, sir, one thing is that we have to make it so we know about it because we all belong to IIT Kanpur, and we got to know because of say LinkedIn or Facebook or some such newsletters that there is a book which got published on that, right? So that's how I got to know. Now imagine somebody who is not from this group, how will he or she get to know?
Yes.
Right? So that's the basic problem, a block that
I think that offline we can discuss and we can talk to the founders of this ventilator, and we can tell them that branding is important at this stage. Else, how will market know about the efficacy and efficiency, etc.? You are best, but then people should know you are the best.
Absolutely. So, yes, another point.
Yes. I think offline. Yeah, offline, I will apprise you about that, and I will connect you with the founders of that ventilator.
Absolutely, sir. And another point is, sir, don't get me wrong, because I also come from the same organization and all. Many times when we look at the industry, they feel that anything which is coming out of IIT Kanpur or any such organization is mostly for research, not for commercialization. So that is something which is anyways a mindset which we have to change if we want.
Exactly. I think that you have really nailed the point. This is where we are stuck, and we have to come out of that rut.
Yeah, that's true, sir. That's true.
Thank you very much, Priyanka.
Oh, thank you, sir, for pointing this out. It's a good point, valid point. Yeah.
Okay, then. So thank you, Priyanka, and thank you, Vijay, for coming to our IITK Alum Cafe Series session 10. And thanks to our audience to stay here till 7 o'clock. We were expecting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So one more thing is actually two things. One is, if do you think there is another session is required related to anything around entrepreneurial marketing? I think Priyanka has agreed that she can take one more session maybe if our audience is interested. So maybe you can let us know via email or personal DM if is there any requirement for another session, or if it is there is, then on what topic. And second is, as we announced there will be 3 lucky winners for answering a question of which company has exactly nailed the branding concept. So that maybe we will announce via email itself. So by tomorrow you will have the names. Yeah, so that's all from me, and thank you very much and good evening.
Thank you, everyone, for taking out time. Thank you, Lokesh, for organizing this. So wonderful job you are doing. I must say that. Hats off to you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.